Don't like this because I do not like this at all. Just don't have enough fuel. Hello, welcome to Space Xbox. I am Uncle Mike, and this is the flight and debrief video for Mission 3, which is we are going to get to orbit, or at least we think we've got the vehicle, the Phoenix Beta Mark II, that will allow us to insert into orbit. Let's put this vehicle on the launch pad. We are ready to go. Let's put it on the launch pad. And let's get Valentina to orbit. So we will fly a standard launch profile with Valentina in the front cockpit. Gonna give her a nice flight. We sacrifice some of our thrust to weight ratio to add more delta V and also the weight of the engine, the little Terrier, which we unlocked in Mission 2. So here we go. We've got Valentina on the launch pad. Let's go ahead and go through staging. Let's just check staging. We've got a little bit more sophisticated staging here. So we got main stage, separation of the main stage or the booster. We have the insertion engine, separate there, and then for deorbit, parachutes, and landing. Everything looks good. So let's go ahead and do our checklist for a launch. Staging is go. Throttle is go. SAS is armed and go. Valentina is go. We are go. Flight 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And launch and lift off. There's that thrust to weight ratio. Nice. Slow lift off. We are now going to shoot for 50 meters per second before we start our pitch profile to the east. So here we go. 50 meters per second. So we are now starting our pitch program as we pitch Valentina onto her back to the east. So here we go. Slow, nice pitch profile. Heading 89, 089, but we go ahead and try to get that right on equatorial, which will be 090. There we are, 090 on the heading. Coming up on 200 meters per second, coming up on 4 kilometers. 4 kilometers in altitude, 220 meters per second. Pitch program looking good. Valentina is looking good. We are good. Go ahead and get a nice view there. There we go. Continuing the pitch profile, coming up on 7 kilometers in altitude, 325 meters per second. Continuing the pitch profile. Everything looks good on the board. Valentina looks good. 10 kilometers in altitude, 400 meters per second. Continuing the pitch program. And again, I forgot to do the science on the launch pad, but I think I did it so earlier in a mission. So let's go ahead and log some of this pressure. Let's go ahead and get that. Let's go ahead and get the temperature. We are sacrificing here some of our pitch program to do this. All right, don't need that one. I've already done that. How about science goo? Science goo. Getting some of their 9 science. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's continue the pitch program. All right, we delayed the pitch program. Let's throttle back. All right, throttling back. 30 kilometers in altitude. Getting a little more aggressive with the pitch profile. The pitch program. Here we go. Pitching over. Probably going to have a coast phase here. I'm going to go ahead and stabilize the vehicle. Get ready for coast. All right, there we go. We have booster cutoff and now separation. Nice clean separation there. We are still in the atmosphere, so that is why you see there that booster phase. All right, let's go ahead and try to get some readings here before we hit space. Oh, I might miss that one. Yep, I did, but I think I already got that one. So we are now in space. It just takes some time. I'm looking forward to when I have in the game, I have some action groups. So it's much easier to do some of this rather than having to click on them, which is a little difficult with the... Keeps not finding... keeps going on this. How can I get my... There we go. I think I've already done this. Yes, I have. So we'll go ahead and reset that. So, all right. Well, we've got some science, but now we are in a coast phase. I am now going to go ahead and arm this little Terrier engine here. There is the Mun. Looks like we could just make a chute right for the Mun there, or the moon. So let's go ahead and arm this. Let's go in the map view and see where we're at in flight. There we are in flight. I'm going to tag our apoapsis, which is our highest point of our flight here. We are going to start a pitch to horizontal, or tangential in this case, and we are going to activate that Terrier engine, and we are going to fly this to orbit. So, right. All right, there we go. We are now going to, we got that pinned. Let's go ahead and start throttling up our Terrier. About 1.5 Gs. There we go, 1.5 Gs. We are now going to fly this. I really don't want to go probably higher than about 125 kilometers. So I'm going to go ahead and start flying this vehicle here. It's a very efficient engine. So up here in the vacuum of space, I'm going to pin my resources. There we go. As we now going to fly this. Thing is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and go full throttle. 2 Gs, give it a little bit more acceleration there, but we are going to watch our orbit. Remember, we need to keep some fuel, because I don't want to make a rescue mission where she is now in orbit and cannot get back to the surface. So orbit is being created here. It's going to be real close here if we're actually going to get to orbit. Okay, I don't like this because do not like this at all. We just don't have enough fuel. All right, so we are going to continue to try to do this. We are just going to light this engine just a little bit. We're going to take this down just barely, see if we can just barely get to orbit. Okay, we now have our periapsis, which is our highest point of our flight. All right, we are raising that. We just need to get it just above 70 kilometers. And then we can do a retrograde burn and dip it just below 70 kilometers, and we can basically do an aero brake. Use the atmosphere to slow us down. It's going to be real close. We're down to only 3.5 liquid fuel units left. Coming up here on 70. Engine cut off. That is orbit. That was close. All right, so we barely made it into orbit. Let's go ahead and turn the lights on here, so at least we have... Oh, I think I just turned the lights off. I just wasn't looking at the hatch. Really difficult sometimes because we're here in the darkness. There we go. There is the light. There is the vehicle. We are now in orbit. We can go ahead and take off our resources, and let's now look at some of our milestones in our contract. So there we are. We did orbit Kerbal, so we completed that contract. And then we've got the actual contact parameter complete, which is achieve orbit. So there we go. So that is satisfaction of the contract. But to complete mission 3, we need to get Valentina back. So I'm going to go ahead and pin our periapsis. I'm going to go ahead and start a rotation of the vehicle into retrograde position. And then we are going to do a deorbit burn and bring her back. While we're doing this, let's go and see if we've got any other science that we can do. So crew report in space. Nope, already done that. Another science goo from space. I'll go ahead and get that because I have it available to me. I believe we've already done the... Oh, no, I have not. So let's go ahead and get that barometric reading. Let's go ahead and get a temperature reading, which we've already done, so we can reset that one. So there we go. I think we've done the science. I think need some barometer readings, some pressure readings in the atmosphere. All right, we are now coming around here to our retrograde position. We are going to then do a deorbit burn, because this vehicle was just enough to get us to orbit. All right, going to go ahead and activate the ship stability, SAS. There we go. We are now on retrograde position. Go ahead and pin our periapsis, the lowest point of our flight, and let's activate the engine and let's do a deorbit burn here. We'll just go ahead and pin our resources, see what we've got going on here. I'm going to go to about 30 kilometers of my periapsis. That would give us a nice shallow re-entry. Probably is going to just run us out of fuel. So I think I'm just going to get what we get here. 1 unit of liquid fuel coming up on 30 kilometers periapsis and 30 kilometers engine cutoff. Just 0.65 liquid fuel units of fuel left. So all right, it's going to be another night entry. I could have gone a complete orbit, but what we need to do is see if we can unlock some more components in the research and development tree so we can do some orbital maneuvers. But for mission 4, we'll have to see what contracts, because we can go into high orbit and get more science. So we've been doing everything in low Kerbal orbit, or LKO, and so we need to get to high Kerbal orbit and do some more science. All right, so we are looking good here. Let's go ahead and we're at 100 kilometers in altitude. Let's go ahead and rotate the vehicle to a normal, which means we are 90 degrees to the direction of flight. And let's go ahead and separate our second stage here. Therefore, the second stage, that Terrier engine and its fuel tank, has less chance of running into us during the re-entry process. Here we are, we're coming up on a normal. Let's go ahead and do this view for separation. Let's see how that separates. Okay, so I like that. And we are go for separation. So there goes the Terrier engine and its fuel tank. And now let's go ahead and go back to retrograde and let's get ready for re-entry. We're still approaching 100 kilometers in altitude. SAS is now on. We'll go ahead and let the ship stabilize. And so now we are ready for re-entry. Let's go ahead and turn on some time warp. Let's go ahead and now let's get to the atmosphere and let's start our re-entry. Bring Valentina back with all of this good science so we can do our debriefing and unlock some more components in that research and development tree. All right, coming up on 70 kilometers, about to come out of time warp. And out of time warp, go ahead and get the vehicle here back onto retrograde. Get that heat shield ready to hit the atmosphere, and boom, here we are in the atmosphere. Now we'll just let aerodynamic effects take place. Valentina is going to have a nice ride here because now we've got a heat shield. Cannot really see the vehicle. Let's see if I can find the window. There's the window, so at least now we can actually see the vehicle. All right, as we come in, see a nice shallow re-entry. Unlike mission 2, where we had a fairly steep re-entry profile, it was a little close for us there. We almost lost some science. I think now with the heat shield, we are going to be much better equipped to survive that heat, and there's going to be less chance that we're going to lose any science goo or barometers or thermometers. All right, 63 kilometers. The vehicle is stable. Valentina looks good. Chutes are in the red. We're going to have to wait till we re-enter to be able to arm our main chutes below 5 kilometers. Going up on 60 kilometers in altitude. If we look at the map view, you can see how we've got this nice shallow profile now for re-entry. As we have hitting the atmosphere, our apoapsis is descending. We should not have any chance of bouncing off the atmosphere and getting back into space. All right, coming up on 58 kilometers. Let's go ahead and get our view so we can see. Here is Valentina. There she is. Vehicle is stable on whoa, 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 what's going on? Whoa, whoa, what was that? Had a little glitch there. All of a sudden my view changed. I don't know what happened there. I think it was, I don't know. That was weird. Ghost in the machine. All right, coming up on 54 kilometers in altitude. We are fast, but we are going to enter the atmosphere in a more shallow profile. So, and with this heat shield, we should be a-okay. Looking good. Heat shield is starting to heat up. There we now. We've got heating effects at 52 kilometers. Here we go. I am now hands off with the vehicle. Hands off. It should be stable just because of its shape and the aerodynamics on the vehicle. So 50 kilometers in altitude. We are now in negative acceleration or deceleration. Vehicle is stable. Valentine looks like she's having a great ride. We've got plenty of electricity in the vehicle. AB up there in the top right, that is the ablator. That is the ablation. Basically, it's a coating of the heat shield that heats up and flakes away, and it takes its heat with us. So that is how the heat shield allows us to survive re-entry. So everything is looking good. I'm going to change the view a little bit so we can see that heat shield. As you can see, the heat shield now is, we don't have any heating effects as of now. That heat shield gives us better survivability for re-entry. Coming up on 43 kilometers in altitude. Because I'm not using the automatic stability system, the SAS, and because I'm not controlling with any of the reaction wheels, I'm just letting aerodynamics do its thing. Amazing! That I'm not using any battery power in the vehicle in case I need it for emergencies. But you can see that ablation has gone down from 200 to 183 because that material is flaking off from the heat shield and taking its heat with us. So, all right, 38 kilometers in altitude. We are still in just a nice, slow, negative acceleration or deceleration. We are slowing down here. But Valentina looks like she's having a great ride. We did achieve orbit. Amazing. Now all we need to do is bring her back safely with this deorbit that we are now right in the thick of, coming up on the thick part of the atmosphere, 33 kilometers in altitude. The G-forces on Valentina are now increasing as we're hitting that thicker part of the atmosphere. The G-forces will continue to increase on Valentina, coming up on 30 kilometers in altitude. Plenty of electricity, plenty of a blader on that heat shield. Passing through 1.5 Gs, coming up on 1,500 meters per second, 27 kilometers in altitude. Everything is looking good here for our re-entry. She is alone. We are in the blackout here because of the plasma blackout, so she does not have any contact with the ground. We are flying this on our own, coming up on 1,000 meters per second, 2.5 Gs, 20 kilometers in altitude, coming out of heat effects. Everything is looking really good. Parachutes are still in the red. We cannot arm the parachutes at all. And there we go. That ablator really survived. I think we're carrying too much ablation right now. We are in the dark, so I'll try to get the window. There's the window there for us. So Valentina is safe. So I think in the next vehicle, when we use that ablation from our heat shield, that ablator, we can actually probably reduce the amount of ablation or ablator material that we're carrying to just save a little bit of weight. That's one thing that we can change in future builds. All right, coming up on 11 kilometers. Everything is looking good here. Coming up on 10 kilometers, we are continue to slow down as we're hitting the thick part of the atmosphere. Eventually, we will probably then actually start to speed up if we get to... Nope, we are going to be able to arm the parachutes before we reach any of that. So there we go. Continuing to slow down. Coming up Probably because of this flight, and I cannot see. I don't know if we're going to get to mountains or not. So I am going to arm the parachutes at 2,500. Our parachutes are armed. Let's go ahead. I cannot see. Out there at 20 kilometers. There is the chute. It is now. We are going to be under full canopy. Looking good. That component out there that we are tracking at 20 kilometers, that is that second stage fuel tank anterior engine as it re-enters the atmosphere. All right, coming down on 1.1 kilometers in altitude, so coming up on 1,000 meters. We are going to go inside with Valentina here because Valentina has available to her, she has a radar altimeter. So you can see that she is only 200 meters above the surface. So yes, we are landing in some mountains or highlands. This might be a little dangerous here. So we are coming up on 150 meters in altitude above the surface, but not above sea level. So at 100 meters, we will go back outside to the vehicle. So 100 meters. So yeah, so we're landing at something that is got an elevation of about 800 or 750 meters. So I can see maybe some hills. Let's go ahead and zoom in here for touchdown. There we go. So we're in some type of highlands here. Let's go ahead and now do some science. We've got one science goo available to us. Let's observe that science goo. We're in the grasslands. Let's go ahead and grab that science. Let's do a barometric reading, a pressure reading. Get that science. Do a temperature reading. Get that science. Let's do now a crew report. Not on the hatch. Not on the hatch. There we go. Let's go ahead and get a crew report. 1.5 science. Let's go ahead and take her out of the vehicle. So this is actually now her first let go. So now she's actually our first time walking around here. I don't know if we can, what can we do? We can remove the helmet. Yep, let's remove. Ah, there she is. Look at that. Remove the net ring. Oh, that's cool. Didn't even know we could do that. So there is Valentina in the grasslands of Kerbal. Let's go ahead now and do an EVA report here and grab that science. Very cool. That's amazing. Let's equip the net ring. Let's equip the helmet. There was some way that we could... What is... All right, let's look this up. Down here in EVA controls. There it is. Haha. Oh, that is excellent. There's our vehicle. There is the Phoenix Beta Mark II vehicle. Let's go ahead and grab a hold of that. Let's get her back in the vehicle. It was amazing. Let's go ahead and recover the vehicle and let's get to our debriefing here for mission 3 of SpaceX Bucks, which is my crewed Kerbal space program career, following the same vision of SpaceX, which is to put Kerbals on the surface of Duna. Woo! We got 89 science, total science, and 381. And Valentina is now advanced to a level 1 pilot. So our chief pilot, Valentina, has leveled up. At some point, we are going to need to go ahead and upgrade our space center, because there are other things that you can do in the space center and other functions and abilities that you can get by upgrading the VAB, mission control, the tracking center, and so on here at the space center. So we'll have to do that. But right now, let's go into R&D and see what we want to unlock with our 89 science. Amazing! All right, so let's go. We are focusing on rocketry. So we can now get to orbit. So that's heavy rocketry. I don't know if we're ready for heavy rocketry, because we're still doing this, the Phoenix Beta, which is a single crew cabin. So those are some big fuel tanks. So let's see here. We've got some of this. The struts would be interesting. Oh, that's what we could do. Is there, wasn't there? Yes, right there. This component right here, the radial decoupler, that would allow us to put basically booster stages on the outside of our main stage. So that might be something that we're going to need to look at doing. No real components there that I think that I need. More batteries, but we're still doing just Kerbal orbit flight, so I don't think we need anything really right there. I'm just looking through to see what might be of interest to us. I like the struts. I have to say, I like that aerodynamic stuff. Not really quite there yet. Larger fuel tanks. But this is the largest fuel tank that we can get. See that right there? That's beneficial right there to us. Right there, to be able to unlock. Be able to unlock that large fuel tank. But that costs 90. We can't do that. Can't do that. I think what we're going to need to do is just investigate. There's no more science there. Let's look at the 90 trees. See what we've got here. Lights, decouplers, and separators. We'll need to get advanced flight control for docking maneuvers. We'll need to get there. But yes, I do not see actually anything right now that I just want to unlock. Everything is... I mean, the struts we can get... We can go ahead and pay. Okay, one of the things that we can do right now is pay to get this radial decoupler. That will allow us to put booster phases onto our vehicles, external booster phases, so our stages, phases. Let's go ahead then and purchase that. Oh, I need to research it first. Yes. Yes, that is what I want to do. I need to research this. I need to pay for the radial decoupler so I can put radial boosters on. Then we're going to come up here, and then here we need to research this for 45. We are going to then go ahead and get our strut. So we're going to purchase the strut. I'm not really ready for a Mark 1 crew cabin. This is how we can do some tourist. I'm not sure how that will actually fly. I'm a little concerned about that. But one of the things that I also will go ahead and pick up and we'll go ahead and grab will be the launch enhancer, which is basically we can build a tower system for our vehicle. So, because right now we've been resting it on the engine, and there is a chance that something could happen. It could fall over. So, for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and purchase that right there. I think that is what we'll actually go ahead and just do, because there's nothing else here on any of our existing that I... Oh! Ooh. Yes, there is one more thing. Aerodynamic nose cone. We're going to purchase that cone in case we do radial boosters. Fly just a little better. All right, so that's one thing else in our debriefing here. I could also get this larger engine, the Reliant. But I'm not sure. Yes, I'm going to purchase that for the booster phases. So, all right, so there is our... Don't need antennas right now. I don't need any of that. That is all owned. So that is what we are going to do here for the debriefing of Mission 3. I am Uncle Mike, and this has been Space Xbox, my crude Kerbal space program career on the Xbox One, following the vision of SpaceX in the real world, which is to put a crew on Mars, or here in the game, Duna. And I will see you in Mission 4.
It's so beautiful, you and me. We're meant to be in the great outdoors.